go. Hello everyone, my name is Megan and this is gonna be my first vlog, so please be nice to me. I had a lot of people ask about my time in Cuba. I spent 2 months in Cuba, which was supposed to be the entire spring semester, but coronavirus came around and said, no, you're going home. So I'm a junior in college. I'm double majoring in international journalism and Spanish with a minor in Pan-African Studies and Peace Studies. It's a little bit about what I study, a little bit of everything. I decided to go to Cuba. I love Caribbean because Caribbean has Spanish, it has Black people, it has good weather, good food. Like, why wouldn't you want to go to the Caribbean? Cuba is one place that I've since I was in college, since freshman year, I was like, okay, this is where I know I want to study abroad. So I planned everything and I was like, okay, apply for these scholarships. So I'm gonna do this to prepare. I'm gonna do a summer study abroad to prepare. This was my second time out the country. So I was gonna plan all these things and then Corona said, once Trump announced that international travel is level 4, really once it was level 3, it's high restrictions. Once it's a level 4, it's like, do not go. So once you hit a level 3 or level 4, that's when flights start to get canceled, borders start closing. And even though Cuba only had 16 cases when I left in the entire country, I had to go home. My program ended. It was one of their restrictions is that once you hit a level 3 or 4, the program ends. So for us, it was like, okay, we need to get you out quick. The borders are gonna be closing in the next 5 days and we don't want you stuck here for who knows how long. I had to do a mandatory 2-week quarantine, even though I left a country that only had 16 cases and went to a country that had 100,000 cases. But yeah, pretty much most of the states were on quarantine. It was so easy to get in and out the airports. There was no lines for anything, no line for custom, immigration, like none of that. Yes, I was terrified of being in the airport during the middle of Corona, but luckily I didn't get it. At least I don't think I got it. I didn't have any symptoms, so I was stuck in my basement for 2 weeks, but that's life, I guess. I'm an introvert, so I'm gonna be down in this little corner, just chilling out, because I don't want you staring at me too hard. Okay, now to talk about the fun things, some notable great places to go. Havana is a great place to souvenir shop. This is the most tourist area you can go to. They have all the little souvenir shop, good food there. I highly recommend churros. I ate churros probably every week. Get the condensed milk, get the chocolate milk. It will change your life. Voy a La Habana basically means I'm going to Old Havana. So they call Old Havana La Habana. So don't get that confused because you think like you're in Havana. Someone's like, oh, I'm going to La Habana. And you're like, we're here. This a really cool store. It's in Old Havana. They make gender neutral clothing. They hand make all of their stuff. And like this is one of the shirts I got. Another notable place is the Malecón. So the Malecón is basically like a strip right next to the water. Important things to know about the Malecón. Be careful when you go at night because there are flashers. It's a little cute place to go at night. If you get a little Cuban boo and you want to make out, you go to the Malecón because that's all you will see at night. Yes, be careful walking next to the Malecón because huge waves come up and they'll hit the side of the Malecón and then they will splash you. And there will be coconuts, there will be trash, there will be a lot of things in the water. The Bosque, it's basically like a in-city forest. So it's a nice place to go if you just want a little peace away from the city. It's so beautiful. It's not, you know, like hiking trails or anything like that. It's gonna be like a quick stroll. While I was in Cuba, I lived in the neighborhood of Evelio. It has a lot of, you know, foreigners. So there will be lots, like all of the study abroad students live in Evelio. It's also the part of the city where the university is, and then the university is also like next to Centro. Really cool place in Centro, the Callejón de Hamel, is that it's a really cool street that has been painted by an artist. All his artwork reflects Afro-Cuban religion. You can get art there, you can get souvenirs, you can get a tour and they tell you a little bit about everything. So that is a really cool place to check out in Centro. One place we did get to go on an excursion to is Las Terrazas in Viñales. So in Las Terrazas, we got to visit a coffee plantation. Las Terrazas is named after the terraces, which is the system they use to cultivate the coffee. I got to see the barracones, which is where the slaves lived who worked on the plantation. And then after we went to Viñales, and Viñales is basically like a little tourist city on the outside more of the country of Cuba. So if you're more of an outdoorsy person, that's a great place to visit. It's smaller, but it still has a little town with live music and with great restaurants and food. And then it's really close to caves and different outdoor activities. There's lots of farms. We went to visit a tobacco farm while we was there, and just beautiful, amazing views, very different from Havana. So I studied at the University of Havana, and I think there's about 17 departments, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that. They don't do online assignments. That's the thing about Wi-Fi. You don't have it. First day of class, bring your flash drive. Profe will copy everything onto your flash drive, all your readings and everything that you're pretty much gonna need for the semester. There are times where she'll tell you to read something and you'll have to go to the library, use the index cards. I hope you know your Dewey Decimal System, all of that, because you have to go find the card, find the author, find the book, take it to the librarian, and they have to get it for you. Yes, this is very old school. My classes were basically lectures the entire time, just lecture. As a student, a US student, and I'm at advanced Spanish, for me to sit in that class and they just talk the entire time, it's hard to pay attention. So just make sure you do your best. One thing is, if you're hungry, there is a cafeteria like on campus, but you should go to J Street. That's where you're gonna get all the great lunch, all the great food, and you're gonna get it for like $1 or $2. Here is the equivalent. One thing you can do while you're in Havana is go to the beach. I went to Santa Maria. It's literally like 30 minutes out. So you can go to the beach, weekend activity, great thing to do. La Fábrica de Arte is a must. You have to go there. It's a club kind of mixed with an art museum. Best club that I've been to in my life. It is huge. It's a warehouse. Every time I went, I found a new room. It's amazing. But one thing I will say is it's like half and half Cubans, half foreigners. So if you're looking for like a local spot to go to, that's not it. One place I also went was FA. So FA is a bar, and that was really cool. I knew the owner. He was my boxing instructor. That's one thing that was really cool. I got to take boxing classes with like a world champion, which was awesome. When I went, it was 5 pesos a class, or you can get a monthly plan for 25, I want to say, don't quote me. As of now, there are 2 currencies in Cuba. There's moneda nacional, which is basically the money that the Cubans use, and that's the money like they get allotted and they use that. It's a lot less to pay for things if you have moneda nacional, and you can use your student ID once you get that to get discounts and pay with moneda nacional instead of paying with Cook, which is basically like the tourist currency. For me, it was a 1-to-1 exchange. They will take a percentage out when you exchange your money though, so really it's not really like a 1-to-1. like less than that. So usually when I would exchange like $100, I get like $88 back as of now, and that changes. So cellular data. So what I did, or what I recommend other people doing, is bringing a phone to Cuba that is unlocked, checked with your carrier before you go, make sure your phone's unlocked. That way you can go to a Texca and then you can buy a Cuban SIM card, put that in your phone, and then just buy data from there. So how you buy data is you go to these places. It usually says Agente de Telecomunicación on it, and it's a blue and white sign, and basically, or it'll have a picture and it'll say Cuba Cell, have a little tarjeta, a little card, like $5, $10, not dollars, but pesos. If I say dollars, pesos. It'll have that on the card, and that just means you can buy cellular data there. You can also go to a Texca and have them put the cellular data on there. I usually try to find places that sell the card. Hotels also sell it. It's just because you have to learn to be patient in Cuba. You will stand in lots of lines. A Texca always has a line. Always has a line. You might be waiting 30 minutes. You might be waiting 15 minutes. You might be waiting an hour, but you will be waiting. If you don't have time to wait, try to grab one of those cards instead, and you can just load it. The directions are on the back. On the topic of Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi in Cuba is not free, and it's kind of not public either. So with the Wi-Fi situation, what you have to do is you have to find places that sell Wi-Fi. So you can go to hotels, and with hotels, you have to buy the Wi-Fi card at the hotel and use it there. You would go to like a Texca, which is their telecommunications company, and you'd buy one. They're usually $1. So you'd buy the Wi-Fi card, and then you can use it at the public Wi-Fi spots. Always bring toilet paper wherever you go. It's natural in Cuba and in many other Latin American countries that when you use the restroom, a lot of times they won't provide toilet paper in the restroom, or sometimes if there is toilet paper provided, sometimes you have to pay. So always make sure you keep some on you just in case. Also, don't flush the toilet paper down the drain. Especially in Cuba, they're very old drains. Please don't do that. You throw it away in the trash. I know this is something that's different, especially because I'm from the US. So this is something that's very different, and it could be weird to get used to. It actually isn't as bad as it sounds. Another thing in Cuba, don't say papaya. We know it's a fruit, but also means something else. So when you go to a restaurant or to a cafe, say fruta bamba. Fruta bamba. No papaya. No, you don't say that. Oh, Cuba, cat calling. Ignore it. If you don't want the cat calls, ignore it. If you want the cat calls, good for you. You go down the street. Linda hermosa. All types of stuff. They'll shout at you, be like, hey, Americana, like Dominicana. Where are you from? What's your name? It's a thing. It's very popular. It will probably happen more than once in a day. But just ignore it. It's just one of the cultural differences. In another country, someone cat calls you, like they're not gonna walk up to you and approach you. Like they'll cat call usually across the street or whatever, and then they'll just go on about their business. Also, one thing to note, when you go to Cuba, there's a lot of shortages. It's kind of their way of life. And one thing I learned is that the blockade the US has put on Cuba, you definitely feel the effects, because that's one thing with me being from the US. Oh, you kind of hear about stuff in the news, like, oh, there's a blockade. I didn't know the blockade is one that's been going on since the revolution in Cuba. So the grocery stores are empty compared to what we would see in our grocery store. So you'll see things like there's cereal, but no milk, no eggs, no chicken. There's cookies, there's salsa, but there's no chips. So just be aware of that. Certain things were very hard to find. In Cuba, everything works like you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that can hook you up and get you what you want. Make sure you talk to everyone. That's how I learned everything in Cuba. Your neighborhood, that is going to be your main go-to. Those are going to be your main peeps, your main fam, all the people you want to talk with, gossip with, they're there. Ooh, one thing that hits hard and I didn't know before you go. So you can't download apps while you're there if you have an iPhone. Like the Apple Store doesn't work. So whatever you need to download before you get there. Make sure you get a VPN before you go. What happened to me is that I have Spotify, and then after a month, Spotify is like, oh, you're offline, we're deactivating your account. So all those, even the songs you downloaded, don't play. What I did, thank goodness, is that I also have Apple Music. So Apple Music will continue working, Spotify won't. Just make sure you have a VPN for your phone and your laptop before you go. That way you can still stay as connected as you are. If you have an Android, I'm pretty sure like Androids are fine. Don't quote me. In the case that something does happen and you don't have a VPN, you can always go see a guy to fix your stuff. So there is like an iPhone store. It's like Addictos de iPhone. It's like iPhone addicts. So that's in Vedado, and they can put apps on your phone. They can unlock your phone. Don't drink the water in Cuba. Don't even use it to brush your teeth. Make sure you always have bottled water with you, that you're drinking it, that you're staying hydrated, and that you're using bottled water to brush your teeth.
Use bottled water to brush your teeth. Please, please, please.
For me, I honestly loved being in Cuba. Like, when I tell you all colors of the rainbow, there were people who looked the whitest of white, the blackest of black, everything in between. And personally, I love to see that. It was nice to camouflage. It was nice to be in a space where everyone is diverse. That was an amazing experience, to not even have to think about the color of your skin, how it may reflect, because that is not something I feel in America. The Cuban accent is strong, and that's one thing. My listening did get a lot better when I was there. I really wish I would have had more time to practice my speaking, but my listening got really, really good with the accent. Sometimes they don't pronounce, well, sometimes, all the time, they don't pronounce some syllables or the ending of letters, so you have to be very attentive, like just listen. Sometimes dose sounds like dose. One thing I will warn you, the adjustment is hard. For me, I had particularly hard adjustment. Unfortunately, once I got there, I had a death in the family. And then on top of like not being able to communicate regularly, some people, not many people, but there are some people who find like not having the telecommunications and not having Wi-Fi and all of that makes them feel better, makes me feel worse. So I'm close to my family and my loved ones. So when I was able to get data and I was able to use the Wi-Fi, it made me feel a whole lot better, because when you're connected, it makes you not feel like you're far. In all reality, I wasn't far from home physically or geographically, because of the very different standards in living and just very different societies, very different political systems. It makes you feel like you're in a completely different world. One thing that also made my adjustment pretty hard, I was sick for a long time when I first got there. I was like congested, like it was in my nose, it was up here, could have been sinuses. Whenever the weather would like change drastically, it would get worse. I was hacking up mucus all day, every day. And at one point there were like speckles of blood in my mucus. So an interesting experience, especially coming from America, a capitalist country where you make so much money off of sick people. I went there bright and early in the morning, like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. They got me in and out. They did my x-ray right there, got my results right there. They tested my blood on the spot. I mean, everything's in-house. So they do it and they test it there, and they'll tell you your results as soon as possible. So for me, they tested that, they tested my mucus, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. So I honestly think it was the allergies. So that was hard for like the first 3 or 4 weeks. But I think I had a pretty good experience at the clinic. It's something very different. Just in case you do get sick, please take advantage of that. Cuba has some of the best doctors. They're sending doctors now. Even when I left, we're sending like 100 doctors around different countries. And when I left the airport, they were sending even more doctors to fight corona. So if you are sick, like, the experience that you have in America and in other countries is not going to be the same in Cuba. And I was lucky. They was able to get me in and out. They was able to do all my tests there, and it cost like $1, like literally $1. Overall, the experience in Cuba was great. It was very hard to adjust at first, which will happen, well, most places. For Colombia, it didn't really happen to me, so when I went to Cuba, I was like, it's hard to adjust, but overall, like, people were great, the food was great, I felt safe there, the experiences was great, people were beautiful. So I definitely want to go back. I want to visit my little house family that I miss so much. I really got close to my house mom and the people who work there, the security guy who worked there, everyone who was there was great. My coordinator was great. She was so helpful through the entire process. And I definitely recommend studying abroad. Sorry, my nose itched. Very nice. I also got some when we went to the tobacco farm. The tobacco farm. Okay.